Conor McReynolds, and welcome to The Dinner Party. In this podcast, I ask guests to tell me about their dream dinner parties. I want to know the venue, the menu, and the guest list. It's a really fun way to get to know a bit more about the people who have inspired my wonderful guests. This week, I am delighted to be joined by an amazing comedian, Isa Bonachera. Isa is such a great act. I've had the pleasure of gigging with her at Jericho Comedy. She's so intelligent and witty, always delivering an unexpected punchline at the perfect moment. Isa was a finalist in the BBC New Comedy competition in 2018, and she's been writing and performing a fascinating variety of different comedy shows over the last few years. I am so excited to speak to Isa all about her dream dinner party, so without further ado, here is Isa Bonachera. Isa Bonachera, hello. Thank you so much for joining me on the dinner party.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've been really looking forward to this all day. I've spent most of today reading about your fascinating guests and checking out all of your incredibly cool work. How have you been finding work recently? Obviously, very strange time for comedians, but how have you been adjusting to it?
Oh my God. I have to reset my entire life. Because I usually go out gigging like almost every day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that anymore. So suddenly I have all this time that I was not ready to have in my hands. Um,
Yeah.
and it have been interesting. I think I have gone. I think like people go through periods of, let's call it like lockdown madness, and
Yes.
like I have a housemate that have been doing all the gardening in the house, like all the gardening ever. Like he's gardening all the time, and just like
Yeah.
obsessed about the grass and getting new flowers and potting and repotting flowers. And me personally, I have been buying a lot of stuff that I don't need.
Oh,
I
yeah.
bought I bought a 3D printer. I'm yeah,
That thing, you can make it pay for itself, I'm sure.
yeah, well, I printed a little boat and then I didn't print it anything afterwards.
This
Yeah.
boat, what kind of boat are we talking? Is this like a grand sort of ship or a little rowing boat or?
No, it fits in the palm of my hand. it's a it's a little white boat. And because I bought it because I thought I could make so much stuff with it. I could
Yeah.
make I could
In
make
theory, you
my
never have to buy another thing again. You just print whatever you need.
Yeah, it turns out that in order to be able to print stuff on a 3D printer, you need to know 3D modeling. And I was not ready to learn it. So I have printed nothing. I also bought a sewing machine. How do you say it? When you make clothes, you
Oh, a
sew?
sewing
Yeah,
machine.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got myself I got a heavy duty one.
Oh,
Because I was
my.
like, I'm gonna start making my own clothes. I felt like all these like poor children are being enslaved to make my clothes. So like
Yeah.
that's not right. I should make my own clothes. So I got it and I haven't opened it yet. I got it 4 months ago. I even got myself a mannequin. A
Oh,
mannequin.
wow.
Yeah, like that is my size. So like I could like fit the clothes in it, and I'm not making any clothes. So I just have a weird mannequin in my window, just like
But
very
you're
stupid.
so ready to make them. That's the exciting thing. It's
Yeah.
the next great adventure.
Yeah. I got myself like a massive computer that I've been
Oh,
using
yeah.
to go on Facebook and browse the internet. That's it. Because like with the 3D printing, I was actually learn 3D modeling. So and I couldn't do that in my laptop. So I look into computer parts, and I was like
Yeah.
reading this article, and it says if you are doing this as a hobby, one graphic card is enough. But if you're doing it professionally, you need at least two graphics cards. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do it professionally. So I got this computer with two graphics cards that I could not afford. I cannot afford any of this. I should say, FYI. Um, yeah.
Oh, well, I fell into the exact same trap. The conversation that we are having right now is being recorded on a very nice computer that, yeah, about 3 weeks into lockdown, I was like, well, I'm inevitably going to start podcasting and I'm going to need a nice computer that can handle lots of editing software. And yes, it has not yet paid for itself. But listeners, keep recommending the podcasts to your friends and maybe it will. Isa, have you been doing much writing in lockdown?
Oh yeah, I've been doing quite a lot of writing. I wrote a comedy documentary
Oh,
about
wow.
about the 1939 New York Fair. World Fair. I don't even know how to pronounce it, so I don't know what
Yeah,
I wrote
yeah,
about.
the World's Fair. That's so
Mm.
interesting.
Oh, I'm obsessed with it. So I wrote like a comedy documentary about it, which I'm gonna put on YouTube at some point. I also like made like a comedy haunted house. Um, yeah, and I just like keep doing these things, but I don't put them out. I think like yeah, I just like doing it as practice, but I should really start like posting them. And
You should
really,
absolutely share these things. They sound wonderful.
yeah, I have done it like in like sort of like those online comedy festivals.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I should like share them in a forever place like YouTube. I'm really scared of YouTube and like the comment section of YouTube. But yeah,
I think you can. I mean, you can restrict comments.
yeah,
I think you can upload something and just say, nobody say a word.
but yeah, I can do that. But then I don't know. I should
But
be
back
brave.
yourself. Your ideas sound great. Anybody who doesn't like them would be a fool because these sound wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Issa, am I right in saying that you're developing a show or you have a show at the moment, The Evil in You? Is that right?
Yes, so it's a scary show. I've been working with Luke Atkinson.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He have been directing me. And yeah, very excited about it. Obviously, like I have all these plans about doing it in Brighton and then going to Edinburgh,
Of course,
and
yeah.
none of that is happening anymore. So it's gonna be like a next year type of thing. So
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a very good idea to just give yourself a year to kind of let the idea develop, and
mm,
then it will be extra polished and lovely for 2021. What's
yeah.
the you say it's a scary show. Tell
Hmm.
me a bit more about it.
So yeah, it's a comedy horror. They are like sort of like scary things that happen on stage.
Okay.
I, I'm like laughing because so like I'm having a go at doing all this like effects on stage as I'm doing this comedy show as well. Uh,
Yeah.
and I did a preview, and one of the things that I got is a really cool device. Is a holographic projector.
Oh
Um,
my god, that's so cool.
yeah, so it can project. It can project like a hologram. I like my idea is that there was gonna be a ghost on stage, and it was gonna look real because it would be in this holographic projector,
Yeah.
and like I did like a preview before lockdown of the show back when we didn't know that any of this was gonna happen.
Yeah, of
And
course.
and when I got to the part of the holographic projector, the ghost didn't project.
Oh
Like
no.
it just said 3D hologram and it spin around. And the thing with And the thing with this holographic projector is that if you're behind it, you don't know what they are projecting because you can only see it from the front. So I was like behind the projector, and I thought that it was projecting a ghost, a really scary ghost. So I was like making an act like, oh, a ghost, and everyone was laughing. And I was like, this is not the funny part. This is like the scary part. So why is everyone laughing? And like, yeah, it was because there was no ghost. It's just like the word like 3D hologram projected in the air.
It sounds like such an accidental joke to hit on, but at least
Yeah,
it got a reaction.
yeah, at least.
Isa, this is, I mean, it's just such a fascinating aspect of the work you do. I mean, looking back at all the shows you've done this year, a kind of, scary comedy show with a hologram. Last year was space exploration. There's been beekeeping, history of art, gender. You've done drag. I mean, you look at such a wide range of interests and of topics, and it just seems like you're always kind of looking at another fascinating area that you're interested in. Like how much do you enjoy kind of coming to the end of an idea and thinking, right, what's next? Because it always seems to be something so different and so unique as well.
Yeah, I feel like I just get bored of stuff, and I just like need to do something else. Yeah, I I think like because of the way I look and the way I sound, like when people come to see me, they either expect me to talk about being from Spain and the whole like Spanish, like this is like what people in Spain do. This is what people in the UK do, that type of
Yeah.
comedy. Or like they expect me to talk about being a big girl. Um, and it just like I just don't like to meet those expectations. I just want
Yeah,
to go on
yeah.
stage with my really strong Spanish accent and just not ever satisfy the curiosity of why I sound like this, and then just talking about something completely different. Um, yeah,
That's
and
so great.
I don't know. I feel like there's like everyone, not everyone, but there's like a lot of people that say like, oh, like you cannot make fun of anything anymore. You have to be politically correct, blah blah blah. And I think that you can make fun of anything. You can like pick any topic and make fun of it. You can talk about space and make fun of it, and talk about bees and make fun of it. So, like, yeah, there's like comedy everywhere, and it's just like
Yeah.
fun to explore it, I guess.
Well, it's so brilliant, and they are topics that certainly something like beekeeping.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the thing like, oh, which beekeeping show are you talking about? It's like it's the beekeeping show. Like it's such a unique idea. All of your kind of vast range of interests in different areas and stuff. How does that kind of relate to your sort of academic background? Because I know you got started with comedy while studying for a physics PhD at Cambridge. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when I was like in Cambridge, I started doing comedy. Because I was a PhD student, I was encouraged to do like science-based comedy, sort of like nerdy comedy.
Yeah.
Um, and that sort of like is what started me sort of like starting doing comedy about things that are like nerdy or like very specific. I find it quite like fun to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I love everyone that does like nerdy comedy and comedy that you learn. I like learning while listening to my comedy.
It's
Yeah, I guess like uh since I left academia because because I dropped out of my PhD. I I drop out because I wanted to try comedy, and I'm a civil servant, so
That's
let's
brilliant, though.
let's just let that sink in. But I guess like the bug about like learning about stuff is always there. If you're nerdy, you never stop being nerdy. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I just feel that I have a day job that doesn't really satisfy my thirst for
Your
knowledge.
kind of your curiosity, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
such a
so
great quality in a writer and performer. Someone who's genuinely really curious and interested to learn and talk about new things. Like you said, it would be so easy to kind of pick the low hanging fruit and kind of go for like, where you're from or what you look like or whatever. But it sounds like you really push yourself, not also just with like the topics that you choose to write about, but also like all the different kind of disciplines you're involved in as well, because you do stand up, but you've also been involved with sketch and drag and improv. You do podcasts. You're a cartoonist. Um, I love speaking to people who are so kind of multidisciplined and creative. Like, how do you kind of view your creativity? Do you see yourself as one thing over another? Are you kind of primarily a stand-up comedian, or do you kind of see it as more of a kind of creative umbrella that you sit under with lots of these fun things?
yeah, well, I feel like I see myself mostly as a stand-up comedian because it's the one thing that I do more successfully, I guess.
Sure, sure.
But I feel like if you're a comedian, in order to be a good comedian, you sort of like have to brand yourself out and look at all the disciplines and all the ways to do comedy. I'm
Yeah,
always a bit annoyed at comedians that look down, for example, on improv comedians or on people that do improv. It's
sure.
like it is a good skill to have. You
Oh my
shouldn't
god,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like there are improv shows that are like millions of times funnier than any stand-up show. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that yeah, it's this is not a career where you can be snobby about what you can do because opportunities for success are like few and far apart. So like
Yeah.
yeah, you really should like be yeah interested in everything. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if you're a stand-up comedian, you are not interested, at least in some way, on in sketch comedy or in improv. You're just like someone that likes to go on stage and give their opinion. You know,
That's
like,
true. That is so true. Yeah, I can't think of anything more egotistical than not being ever interested in working with any other people.
yeah.
That's crazy. Well, so when you were kind of starting out in comedy, when you went to Cambridge, what was it that got you into trying comedy? Like, was there any kind of comedic influences that you'd seen and thought, I would love to try what they're doing? Or was it a case of so many people saying to you, you're so funny, you've got to do this? Kind of, what was it that got you into comedy in the first place?
Oh well, like the first week that I was in Cambridge, I met this girl that was super into comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just say that I wanted I wanted to get in those pants. So she was like she was like really into comedy and she really wanted to audition to one of the student comedy nights.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was like, hey, I'll audition with you. Let's go together. And we like I have to prepare like a 5 minutes and we both auditioned and we got through and then we did the show. And when I did the show, it was like amazing. I never felt that good in my life. Like my jokes were landing, people were laughing. I felt really
Yeah.
good about it. And after the show, I was in a high of like excitement for like 2 days straight. I was like, oh my God, this is the best feeling in the world. And I got hooked and then I just couldn't stop doing it. It's like a drug. It's like
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it really is.
like it's the dopamine. Yeah, just keeping the dopamine up, I guess. Um, and like I never got with the girl.
No.
But you know what? It's okay because I have comedy.
Yeah, you got a better relationship out of it than with her. You got
Oh
the
no, she's
comedy.
great. She's amazing, actually. She's amazing, and now she's a writer in New York, and she recently got married. It's just like, oh, she's great, but yeah, at least I have comedy.
It's so funny that all these cool things have just come out of that very basic desire of like, oh, she's fit. I'm going to develop an entire career around wanting to get with one person. It's absolutely fantastic. And Issa, I mean, you've done just so much cool stuff in your career. Like, I mean, I saw you for the first time live earlier this year at the Jericho Comedy Gala at the Oxford Playhouse. You were so great there. You've obviously done stuff like the BBC New Comedy Award final, which is amazing. Like, has there been an aspect of your kind of comedy career or a show that you've done or anything that really kind of stands out as like the highlight? You talk about that high that you got after the first gig.
Yeah.
Has there been anything in your career that kind of rivals that?
Uh, I don't know. I don't think that I've been doing this particularly successfully, but I think like it have been like it have been very progressive. Like I've been doing one thing, and then the next opportunity that came around was a bit better than the previous one, and it's have been sort of like steadily like getting better and better. So I don't know. I feel like I was like very happy with my last Edinburgh show. It got like a lot of good reviews. It sold very
Hmm.
well. So that felt great. That made me feel like I was like good as at what I was doing. um so yeah, I think like that was like I felt like yeah, it was like I felt like that was an achievement, like getting those good reviews and having that validation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I mean, we've touched on all the different kind of creative things that you're interested in. It sounds like uh yours is a kind of curiosity and like creative sort of malleability and like yeah, just your interest. I find that so wonderful, and it's something that I really share with you. It's my favorite thing when I'm talking to someone like you on these podcasts that we do for Jericho Comedy. I love to ask about all the kind of different creative things, and I just find it infinitely fascinating. You've written the your kind of comedy documentary about the World's Fair and that kind of thing. Are there any kind of creative interests on your sort of your creative bucket list that you still want to do? You know, is there like would you ever like to write a novel, or would you like to try acting, or is there anything that you've kind of been thinking, oh yeah, I really want to get to that maybe you haven't tried yet?
Well, I wanna make clothes. I wanna make my own clothes. I have this like tuber mannequin sewing machine that's just like staring at me every day. So I
This
guess
has
like
surely got to turn into a show at some point as well. Like the whole way through your stand-up show, you're making an item of clothing for the mannequin or something.
oh
It's
my
got to
god.
happen.
Yeah, that is actually genius. Doing like a piece of clothing in an hour. That's
Yeah, and
actually
then
a
by
very
the
good
end of an
idea.
Edinburgh run, you could actually have a fashion line that you could sell.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That would be so great. I
That
think
would be
clothes making
amazing.
is a very good thing to want to
Yeah.
turn your hand to. And it's not like you can't say that you haven't got the equipment to give it a go.
No. And like there's comedy in that. That's like medium for comedy as well. Like clothes can be funny and ironic and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I so hope to see that as a show develop. That would be so great. Well, Issa, I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to chat to me this evening. Obviously, about your dream dinner party. That's why we're here. And
Yeah.
before we get into all the specifics about the kind of where and who would be there and what you'd be cooking and everything, just to kind of start with asking you, like, what? I mean, first of all, are you someone who enjoys a good dinner party?
Yes. Yeah. I love. I'm not a person that likes to go out to clubs and dancing and stuff.
Hmm.
So when I want to hang around with a group of friends, I invite them over for dinner. That is like that's my fun.
Excellent.
Staying home, eating food.
Oh, I'm so with you there. Yeah. Like being at home
Yeah.
with people is infinitely better than having to go out of the house and get a bus. And oh, it's just dreadful when you have to leave
Yeah.
the house. I really resent it. Well, what's the kind of tone of a dinner party at yours? Is it something that's kind of fueled by fascinating conversation, or is it a very silly affair, or a
Um
bit of both, or
yeah, I feel like a bit of both. Like yeah, I'm just saying that I have very interesting conversations and like people might not agree with that. I guess like there's like some conversation, sort of conversation, hopefully of interest. And
yes.
yeah, it's just really very silly. Like we always like doing like being silly at the end of like when I invite people over for dinner and stuff, it always gets stupid.
Is it a bit of a boozy affair, or
Yes, yeah, yeah.
it
I like
sounds
the grape. I
ideal?
like my wine.
What more could you possibly want
Yeah.
than that? Brilliant. Well, Isa, before we learn about who is coming to your dinner party, let's help our listeners picture exactly where this gathering is happening. You can choose anywhere in the world to get together this fascinating group of people and tell us where you've chosen to do it.
Yes, so I have chosen a little cabin in the countryside, but in Iceland. Boom.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Is this so that you can kind of see the northern lights?
Yes, like to see the northern lights. Also, like because in Iceland they have like really long days, or really long nights. So I think
Yeah.
it's like always like this, like almost like fantasy like land. It's just so weird. The landscape is like volcanic and weird, and yeah, it's just like a wonderful place. I went to Iceland last summer and I cannot stop thinking about it. It's just
Oh,
like
wow.
amazing, amazing place. Beautiful.
That is really, really cool. Uh, is there a particular kind of time of year? You mentioned the long days and the long nights there. In your sort of fantasy dinner party, do you picture it being a kind of a long day or a long night when you're hosting it? What are you picturing?
A long day, yeah. It would
A
be
long
like
day.
in the summer. There will be like the midnight sun because like I hate being cold. So if I pick the long night, it will have to be winter. And I no. Yeah, it will be summer long day and yeah, I love like the like breathing. I love breathing in Iceland. No, because like it's always like a bit cold, so the air is always like a bit fresh. It's always like very fresh, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like very like you can like smell the grass. Is everything? There's a lot of green, so it's just like a really good place for your lungs.
Yeah. Isn't it
Yeah.
sad that that is like a novelty for people who live in London or in the UK in general? When you go somewhere and you're like, oh my God, this is what air smells like. it's, it's so
It
sad
is
that we have
very
to think
sad,
that. But
but
yeah,
yeah.
but I totally sympathize. I'm going to the coast in a couple of weeks and I
Oh
cannot wait to actually breathe fresh sea air. Like it's genuinely making me giddy. Well, brilliant, Isa. We know where we're going to be. We know
yeah,
it's going to be a lovely, long Icelandic night. I mentioned earlier that, among many other things, you're a cartoonist
yeah.
and you had a drag king character who's a Spanish artist. So it's fair to say that art is very important to you. So perhaps it's no surprise that your first guest is one of the most renowned artists of all time. You're inviting fellow Spaniard and master of surrealist art, Salvador Dali.
Yes.
So why is Dali the lucky recipient of an invite to your dream dinner party?
I because I have been watching a lot of interviews with Dali lately.
Oh yeah.
Like they're like interviews in Spanish, but he also have interviews in English.
Hmm.
And just the way he talk about stuff is very, it's very interesting. So like I think that he would be like very interesting conversation conversationalist conver
Yes.
people who converse.
Conversationalist. Yeah.
He would be a really good person who talks. Like yeah, so I was like watching this interview. One thing to like remember is like around after like during Dali time, that was during the Spanish post-war, so there was like a
Yeah.
civil war. During that time, it was like it was very icky for Spanish people to talk about politics. Like they couldn't voice their opinion at all.
Yeah.
And Dali, if he wanted to go home, he wanted to go to Spain, he had to be very careful about the stuff that he would say on television.
Yeah.
So he had this whole extravagant character that like would say would only speak in like nonsensical sentences and be very cryptic, but what he will actually say like under the radar, it was actually quite powerful and a big critique of the Spanish regime and like the way things were in Spain. Um, so like yeah, he would be like he was like he said that he was monarchic and apolitical, and he was monarchic because he believed on God-given gifts, and he
Uh-huh.
believes that his talent was a God-given gift. So uh,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but yes, he have to be monarchic because he have to accept sort of like the gifts that God give to people and stuff like that. And it's just like it doesn't make any sense, but it's just like, but it sounds like it does, and it's interesting
Yeah.
to listen.
Well, he definitely wasn't short of confidence. After he had a pacemaker fitted later in life when he'd had a heart attack, he said, "When you're a genius, you do not have the right to die because we are necessary for the progress of humanity." I mean, that's quite a big opinion of your contribution to humanity, isn't it?
Well, like
He's a big personality.
yeah, but I think he wasn't wrong. He was like I mean, you can say those things when you're at. It's like Kanye West when he said that he's a genius. Like, I mean, you have to give it to him. He's a good musician. So
Yes, he might have
yeah,
a slightly more inflated idea, Kanye, of his
yeah.
importance to art and to humanity. But I think Dali maybe is justified, or certainly perhaps more justified than that. Uh, I mean, he's someone like you who sort of dabbled in more than one creative discipline. He wasn't just a painter. He wrote film scripts. He wrote an autobiography. He was also a sculptor. He designed ballets. He even created a dream sequence for Alfred Hitchcock.
Hmm.
So, like, what would you want to hear from him? Would you want to talk to him about his work, or is it that kind of personality and character and persona that interests you almost more than the actual work he made?
Yeah, definitely about his work and his process. But I feel like what I find really interesting is like his relationships, like his romantic relationships.
Yeah.
I just like I'm very like that's like very interested to me. So like his lifestyle and his relationship with his wife, because apparently they didn't have sex at all, and she cheated on him like a ton. So I
Yeah, yeah, I read this.
yeah, I want the gossip. I,
Yeah, he spoke quite interestingly about their sex life, and he seemed like pretty cool with the fact that his wife was kind of having sex with other people because that wasn't really something he was too bothered about.
hmm,
And she would go off and like live in her own castle for for kind of
Yeah.
3 months at a time, and he was only allowed to visit her with expressly like written permission. Like she had to write him a letter saying, "Okay, you can come and see me," before he was allowed to go and see her. But somehow that relationship kind of endured. So that would definitely be a really interesting thing to talk to him about.
Yeah, I
I mean,
didn't know about the castle bit. That's super interesting. That's
yeah,
amazing.
she owned this castle that she would just kind of disappear to. And yeah, like credit to him, he only showed up when he was invited. I mean,
Uh,
if my wife tried something like that, I'm not sure that I would have the discipline to wait until I got an email saying, "Hey, you should come over tonight." I'd be like, "You're
yeah.
my wife. I want to see you." What do you think he would be like as a dinner party guest? Because if his work is anything to go by, like it's quite hallucinatory. Like, it was
Yeah.
described as being like frozen nightmares. He sort of something tells me that he'd be fascinating, but super weird.
Yeah, I think he will definitely annoy all the other guests. Yeah, he will be doing weird things with the food and like making weird comments and yeah, and all up for it.
Do you think it's safe to say Dali would be the wild card in the group? Like everyone else would probably be a bit more normal, but Dali might, do something with the carrots that would just be like, what the what?
I think like yeah, I think he will be the wild card, but I think like the other guests in the list will tolerate him. I think that everyone in the list will be chill. I think that they're
Yeah.
all cool. Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I definitely think you're right. You've put together such a good group of people. Is there anything about Dali's kind of outlook or work or personality that you would say is in any way kind of influenced or inspired your outlook toward kind of work or creativity or anything?
Um, I don't know. Because like comedy is such a different like yeah, you can definitely be surrealist with comedy and you can like take it to weird places and you can
Hmm.
be extravagant. I guess like what I really like about Dali is that he created this persona because I'm sure that behind closed door and he was like a complete different person, but he projected this persona and this aura of confidence. And I think that if you're a comedian, we all do that. We create our comedy persona, which
Hmm.
is more confident than our actual persona. um, yeah, I think like I, it's an inspiration to like not be afraid to embrace your weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's definitely something Dali didn't shy away from in the very least. I think the maybe the weirdest thing I read about him, and there were so many, but he once delivered a lecture in London while wearing a deep sea diving suit, complete with the kind of huge heavy helmet. Uh, and apparently he arrived at the lecture carrying a billiard cue and had a pair of Russian wolfhounds with him.
Oh.
And his reason was that he wanted to show that he was, quote, plunging deeply into the human mind. I mean, he sounds like he embraced theatricality and drama. I mean, how do you think you would respond if he showed up in his full deep diving suit and a couple of Russian wolfhounds to your dinner party? Is that the Dali you're hoping shows up?
Yeah, I really hope that like that's what he will wear. Yeah. I really I will invite him fully hoping that he will make a bit of a performance.
Yeah. Dinner and a show from
Yeah.
Dali. Well, he's such a fascinating character to kickstart your dinner party. Uh, your next guest is cut from quite a different cloth.
Yeah.
She's considered to be the world's first computer programmer. She died in 1852 at the age of only 36, but her achievements in mathematics are just astounding, and she cemented her place in history. You're inviting Ada Lovelace to your dinner
Yes.
party.
Uh,
What a legend!
Oh, I love the like character of history. I just like, yeah, she died so young. We don't know like a whole lot about her personal life, and I just have questions
Oh
for
yeah.
some
Well,
kind
what
of.
questions are they?
It would just like I just like want to know whether like she couldn't achieve as much as like she could, like whether her potential
Yeah.
was restricted by sort of like her marriage and like her family. Yeah, I
Hmm.
just want to know whether she had more to give. And obviously she was like the daughter of Lord Byron, which is like
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
he's like my historic like crush. Like I think he's like super hot.
I mean, he
But
also sounds like he was a proper scoundrel as well, because he left, didn't he? I mean, he left when
yeah,
Ada was only 4 weeks old. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, which led to obviously a very complicated relationship that Ada developed with her mother. And Byron died when Ada was only 8 years old. But yeah, I mean, just a fascinating life. It's incredible to think that she fit everything that she did into just 36 years.
yeah. Just like how ahead of her time was that she like was making devising like computer programs before computer like anyone could think of building
Yeah.
a computer. It's like it reminds me of like people right now that are making quantum algorithms for quantum computers that don't exist yet. It's just
Yeah.
like they
It's 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 just mad. I mean, it's sort of that achievement can't be overstated to be so visionary. One thing that really struck me about Ada Lovelace when I was reading about her today was, I mean, there's all the stuff with, as you've said, her family and that relationship, and how her mother wanted her to be nothing like her father, so kind of pushed her into studying maths and science as opposed to any kind of art. But her fascination with her father led to her having this kind of understandable fascination with art and the relationship between art and science. It's something, again, I see in your work. I think when you talk about science and as you say, nerdy things, but obviously in a very artistic way, in a comedic way, coming at it from an arts perspective. And that was something Ada did too. That kind of relationship in her mind between art and science wasn't binary. It wasn't art or science. She kind of saw art in science, and vice versa.
yeah, I think like that is the mark of a good scientist. Like I think like the best scientists and the best physicists and the best mathematicians are the one that can see the beauty in the work that they're doing. It sounds like very, it sounds very cliche. But
No, no, I
yeah,
think
like
it's amazing.
yeah, if they can like see sort of like the beauty in what they're doing, if they can like see the poetry of what they're doing, like they are the best scientists because they have a much deeper understanding of the subject. They it's not just like numbers and theories for them. It's like more like yeah, it's something deeper than that. Like
Mm.
for example, like it's something that I feel that have been lost in academia. Like back in the day, if you wanted to be a physicist, you were not just someone that solve problems and that do math. You are a philosopher. You actually have to think about things and make relations between different concepts. Um, and I feel that like that have been lost because like academia have lost the that like people in academia have lost that passion and that interest
Mm.
on their own subject because they're mostly focused on getting funding on keeping a job, so they have
Yeah.
to deliver results all the time. You have to deliver and deliver and deliver, and there's like no time for reflection and no time to actually stop and smell the roses and enjoy what you are studying.
Yeah.
um so I feel like there is very connected, art and science. I think they yeah, they're like very basic, like there are things that like humans need to survive. You either like people are either really interested on like practical things and like helping humanity and stuff, or you're really interested on beauty, and and you need there's a connection between, there's a bridge, and yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I was the least scientifically or mathematically capable person, I think it's fair to say, in the history of humanity. I just struggle so much to connect with them on an academic level. But I
Mm,
am endlessly fascinated hearing someone talk about finding beauty and kind of connection and like the essence of feeling. That was something
mm,
Ada also talked about. Was like kind of using intuition and really feeling something and like connecting poetry to science. It's just breathtaking to someone like me. Like I think one of her earliest projects was to attempt to fly, which I
mm,
guess is like the perfect project to demonstrate a clear connection between needing to know the mathematics, the physics of how flight actually works, but also like the aspiration behind wanting to be a human who can develop wings to fly like a
mm.
bird. Like there's a real poetry in that.
Yeah,
Um
there's some issues there that she need to overcome.
yes, let's also not understate how absolutely wackadoo you have to be to want to fly. What do you think Ada Lovelace would be like if she'd been born into our time, Isa? Like, do you think she'd be a Silicon Valley entrepreneur? Or
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I feel like she will be like, oh, she will be like one of those like very smart woman, very witty, and she will be doing something big. She will definitely, she will either be one of, she will definitely have a Fields Medal, like
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
Or she will have like a really successful startup, but then not be an asshole about it. Like,
We're not pointing any fingers at Mark Zuckerberg there.
yeah, so yeah, I think like it's so sad. All this amazing women with so much potential, and they live in a period where like women could not fly. I guess.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's but also it kind of almost redoubles my absolute awe for her that she is credited with what she did
Yeah.
despite the barriers for women in the time where she was operating. I mean,
Mm,
really, really incredible. Like away from her kind of work as well. Like a little bit like Dali. She sounds
mm,
like a mildly scandalous person. She was rumored to have a bit of a relaxed view to marital
mm,
fidelity, to put it politely. She was also a bit of a gambler. So like she was
yeah.
certainly a character. What do you think she would be like at the dinner table?
I think she'll be. I think she'll be fun. As I said, like the guests that I pick for this dinner party are all chill and up for it.
Yeah.
So I think that she will be fun. She will be enjoying whatever Dali is doing and just like having a good time. Just like drinking loads and being witty and funny. Yeah.
I like that. I very much like that.
I just like when I was like putting together this list of people for the dinner party, it took me a while because like I pick all male like guests.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm yet to see a dinner party. This is episode 12 of the
yeah.
podcast, and there's yet to be an episode with more female guests than male guests. It's something I
It's
have noticed.
yeah,
Um,
it's so interesting how history have systematically excluded women
yeah,
from the lamland. Like there are definitely women that have been important for history, but they are not celebrated.
Yep.
So like,
100%.
yeah, like people know Lord Byron more than they know Ada Lovelace, even though
Yes.
what Ada Lovelace did
She
have
was
a
writing
deeper
computer
impact.
programs, yeah, like
I was
200
like,
years before computers.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
yeah, it's that like it's very sad. We should like
It,
they should
it
be like we should rethink history and bring like women back to the
yes.
forefront. Yeah.
I feel maybe we need a kind of a sister podcast to the dinner party, which is just called like Girls Night In or something, with a female host, and you're only allowed to invite brilliant women.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to start that at Jericho Comedy. I'll have a word. You can be the host for that, Isa. Well, your third guest is again someone completely different, but in some respects, I see a similarity. I mean, this
Mm.
person definitely a dreamer.
Yeah.
He was a German archaeologist whose work was said to have lent credence to the theory that Homer's Iliad actually
Mm.
reflected historical events. You're inviting Heinrich Schalman.
Yes.
So
Oh,
tell me about Heinrich Schalman. He was someone who I have to admit I'd never heard of until you sent me your guest list, but I really enjoyed reading about him today. So tell us why Heinrich is getting an invite to your dinner party.
I think like I really like this person. He loved the Homer Iliad and the
Yep.
Odyssey. He was obsessed with those books, and he was rich. He had the money.
Mm-hmm.
So he was convinced that these places that were described in the Homer Iliad were real. He thought that they were real. He was like mapping the story, and he thought to himself, these places could be real places. So and people didn't believe or didn't have the resources to actually explore this. So he just like went ahead and started excavating, and he found that the places where he thought were landmarks in the Homer Iliad, where he started excavating, he actually started finding things.
Yeah.
Like he found the mask of Agamemnon, which we don't know whether it was Agamemnon, but it's a cool mask.
Yeah, yeah.
And he found Troy, and people didn't thought that Troy was a real place. He found it like I think it was in Turkey or around there.
Mm-hmm.
He kept digging, and he found another Troy and another Troy. He found like a bunch of Troys, one over the other. Um, Nowadays we know that those are terrible archaeological practices.
This was the aspect that really made me smile when I was
Yeah,
reading about him earlier. It's so sad that this person was so passionate
yeah,
and so wanted to find these things, but he lacked any kind of formal education. And so his archaeological practices were just so destructive. Like he used
yeah,
dynamite to
mm,
dig, which obviously
yeah,
might blow one or two important artifacts up. And apparently, like now, he's used as an example to archaeology students of how things shouldn't be done. But I
yeah.
think there's a lot to celebrate with his kind of his passion and like his focus and drive. You know, this was something he always wanted to do, and whether he did it technically brilliantly or not, he still did it.
He did it. He contributed a lot. And it's such a cool thing to find out that this thing that you are obsessed about is actually real. It's like
Yeah.
if I suddenly find out that the Middle Earth is real, like it would be amazing. Yeah. I just
Oh.
like also love stories about terrible scientists. Like oh bless you. There's like another guy, a civil archaeologist. His name is Arthur Evans, and he was obsessed with the labyrinth of the Minotaur, with the
Oh
stories.
yeah.
And he excavated. He was obsessed with something, the Palace of Naxos. He was convinced that he will find it in Santorini, or I don't know if it was Santorini, but in an island.
Uh-huh.
So he went there and started excavating, and he found it. And then he was like, "Oh, you know what would be really really cool is that if we rebuilt it." if we take everything that we're excavating and we rebuilt it, now like that is like a big no in archaeology. It's just like you also like painted it in the tackiest colors. It was like it's an eyesore. But he had these dreams of the palace of Knossos, and he found it and he brought it. He made it real. And it's just like I feel like have I lived uh back then and have that amount of money, I would have done the same. I would have.
I love that you see
Yeah,
something of yourself in
yeah.
Schleiman. That's really funny. I mean, is there? Imagine you've got him there at this dinner party. Like, what do you want to hear from him? What are you picking his brain about?
Well, I would just want him to take me with him to one of his expeditions, and yeah, I just like I I will talk to him about planning another excavation, and like I will make plans with him to go somewhere and find something else. We can go through what books are there that could be real places.
You're
Let's
gonna
go
find the
find.
real Hogwarts together,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I mean,
definitely. Yeah, it's a nice conversation when you're having a dinner party and you make like big plans. So I think like he's the big plans kind of guy.
I like that. I really love, I'm so attracted to his confidence. Like, just reading
Yeah.
about him, that is already very, very endearing, even if it's completely misplaced.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it was said that he spoke 13 languages, which is quite incredible. Apparently, he spoke English, French, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Russian, Swedish, Polish, Greek, Latin, and Arabic, in addition to his native German. And he
Hmm.
claimed that it took him only 6 weeks to learn a new language. But I
Uh,
am trying to imagine what his what his language level would be like after 6 weeks. And when he said he spoke these languages, to what degree of accuracy and competency did he actually speak them?
I have a feeling that since he took an approximate approach to archaeology, he probably just like learned like an approximate version of Spanish or approximate version of Portuguese. I think he was very confident about it. That's my feeling.
He sounds great. I mean, obviously, he sounds like a real character. And to different extents, he's derided these days. National Geographic went in a bit hard on him. I read earlier they questioned his qualifications and methods, going so far as to refer to him as a con man who
Hmm.
took sole credit for the discovery of Troy, even though he was digging at the site at the behest of British archaeologist Frank Calvert. So someone just told him to go there, and he did, and then was like, I did it! I find it! It's like, yeah, someone told you to go there.
Well, but he found it.
But he found it, yeah. I'm definitely on his side.
Yeah.
I want the people who know more about this than I do to leave him alone. Because he sounds like a great guy. Uh,
Yeah.
well, he's absolutely terrific, and such a worthy addition to the dinner party table. I think between Dali's eccentricity, Ada Lovelace's brilliant mind, and his self confidence, you're already onto such a great group of guests, and you're only adding to it with your next guest as well. He's a comedy writer, producer, and actor who's the creative mind behind the wonderful NBC sitcom Community, and he co-created Adult Swim's Rick and Morty. You're inviting Dan Harmon to your dinner party.
Yes.
Oh, I
Um,
love Dan Harmon. When did you first become a fan?
and when I started watching Community, like when it first came out, I thought that
Mhm.
it was like brilliant. And I think that because he in Community, he's so meta and he refers a lot about like it being a sitcom. There's like lots of reference about it being a TV show, and sometimes
Yep.
characters are like somewhat aware that they're in a TV show. It's
Yes.
just like it's like what made me really interested in sitcom writing, just like watching Community, because
Ah.
I love sitcoms. I can watch sitcoms all day. Like I have watched all of Friends, all of Scrubs, all of even the Big Bang Theory. I have watched because the
Yeah,
Big Bang
yeah.
Theory is bad, but I I I I watch like sitcoms all the time, but I never thought that I could ever write sitcom. I never thought about the process of how sitcoms come to be. They were just like feel like very familiar, and the story,
Mhm.
yeah, it feels like very effortless and fun. But then when you actually think about it, they're really hard to write. I think they're harder to write than drama in many cases.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, just watching Dan Harmon's Community made me really interested about the process of making sitcoms, and it awakened sort of like a big interest in me. I've been writing episodes and stuff, and I'm getting into sitcom writing, like
That's
any
cool.
comedian. So like, yeah, I have to credit him for that. Uh,
I'm
yeah,
assuming you're familiar with Dan Harmon's story circle,
yes, yeah.
his framework, which again was something I only saw today. Like, I'm a big
Mm.
Community fan. I'm making my wife watch it for the first time now because I've been going on about it for so many years. She's finally caved in and we've started watching it and I'm loving it again. But yeah, when I was reading about Dan Harmon today, I came across this writing circle theory, which is it just seems so kind of simple.
Yeah,
Uh, but within it, I mean, it kind of encompasses pretty much all storytelling. It's quite remarkable.
yeah, and it feels like very simple, but then when you watch Community episodes, they don't feel simple and predictable.
No,
they
yeah,
always surprise you, and the same with Rick and Morty. Like all the episodes, like really surprise you. So
yeah. It's a real achievement in writing to be. And the thing I love about Community is that there is a kind of larger sort of series arc. You know, things happen to characters over the course of episodes, but each episode in itself is such an achievement in writing and
mm,
direction, and they're so stylized. I mean, those paintball episodes
yeah,
are just jaw-droppingly brilliant. I mean, you talked about how watching it made you kind of think that sitcom writing could be for you, or writing scripts could be for you. Has Dan Harmon's writing and his attitude directly influenced like the way you write your stand-up in any way?
I don't think that it have like influenced so like my stand up, but I do use the story circle to write.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really
and
can't wait to start using it.
yeah.
I've just saved it to my desktop today, and I'm very excited about the next time I have a chance to sit down and try to write a story. I'm definitely using it. He's just an amazing guy. I mean, what qualities do you think he would be bringing to your dinner party? How do you think he would fit in with your other guests?
Oh, I think that he will be a pain in the ass. I think like because I have watched Harmontown, his documentary thingy, and I have listened to him in interviews, and he just like feels so arrogant.
Oh
he seems
wow!
he seems a bit arrogant, and seems to be like also like very full of himself. So I think that he will definitely be mean to some of the other guests in some way, and that will bring a bit of drama to the table, and it will be enjoyable just to see the drama unfold.
That is interesting. So he's someone you really admire,
Yes.
but you're running the risk of meeting him and seeing that he's an asshole. Would that not ruin any of the enjoyment of his shows, or are you just able to sit back and be like, this is just good entertainment?
I don't. Yeah, I don't mind. I think we need to stop the illusion that every artist that we enjoy is a wonderful person. Like a lot of people, I do that. I'm guilty of that. Whenever I find like some piece of art or a TV show that I enjoy, I always like picture whoever is making it as the coolest person ever. But in reality, most of the people making like TV shows, a lot of the people that are very serious about their art and are very business minded about their art are
Yeah.
a bit of an asshole. um, and we need to be okay with it, you know?
Well, he's definitely. I've not seen Harmontown or anything, but I do know that he's not without controversy. He
Yeah.
obviously had to issue an extensive apology for sexual misconduct toward a
Hmm.
co-writer. Although it's worth noting she did accept his apology. She described it as a masterclass on how to apologize. So clearly he's a great talker. Um, and yeah, do you think he would kind of be holding court a bit, like sort of trying to dictate the conversation, or do you think that your other guests would give him a run for his money?
I think he will try to dictate the conversation, but unsuccessfully. And then he might get frustrated and he might say something mean, and then and the other guys will not mind. They will roll with it, but they might, yeah, it might get a bit like interested. There might be a bit of friction.
That's a very funny decision to add that energy willingly into your dream dinner party. I
Yeah,
like it a lot. I think it's a ballsy
the
move.
drama to the mama. Yeah.
Well, I mean, your final guest is absolutely not an asshole. She is a
Yeah.
bona fide legend. She's a singer, songwriter, humanitarian, author, philanthropist, businesswoman, and actor. She's worked with musical legends such as Hank Williams Jr., Willie Nelson, Norah Jones, Cat Stevens, Neil Young, Johnny Cash, Cher. I could go on. Your final guest is the incomparable Dolly Parton.
Yes.
What a great choice. How long have you been a Dolly fan?
Um, not that long. Um,
Oh.
I think like I got into Dolly Parton because I listened to this podcast called Dolly Parton's America.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
and that was my initiation to Dolly Parton, and now I am obsessed with her. I love her. She
I
says,
mean, I know it's wrong to play favorites because obviously you're supposed to love all your guests equally, but like Dolly's the best one, right? We can acknowledge
yeah,
Dolly's the best.
Dolly is the best in any room. I think like I just want it would be amazing for everyone in the world just to be like Dolly Parton, just
Uh-huh.
nice and controversial, just like fun to be around. Yeah, she's like the
Yeah,
perfect human being.
she
Um
really is.
and she's like so talented. I think that her musical talents are like, she's like a modern day Beethoven or Mozart. Like
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
a musical genius, like a
It made
true
me feel
musical.
like a little bit queasy with jealousy earlier when I read that she wrote I Will Always Love You and Jolene on the same day. She
Ah,
wrote those two songs in one songwriting session. Like, I physically felt sick, Issa. I was like, I will never write anything like a fraction as good of those. And she wrote two in one day. Like, that's her talent. It's extraordinary. I mean, obviously, we've alluded to the fact that she's not just such a talented musician. She's and again, like something I see in you as well, that kind of multidisciplined uh, talent and interest in so many different areas. Like, is there a specific aspect of her life and career that you are interested in that you'd want to talk to her about?
yes. So I forgot the name of the guy that she was in the show with. She did the show with,
Oh
yeah.
no, I've forgotten his name as well, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
well, like we know who he is. I
Yes.
will ask her, did she have an affair with him?
Oh wow, that's a very direct question.
Yes, I just really want to know. And diet. Also, like, yeah. I think she's also not. She was not very faithful, so she would get along with Ada Lovelace very very well. Yeah, I think I will also uh ask her about about her music, how that he came up with the music. Apparently, she's an amazing storyteller. So I would like
Mm.
ask her about the stories behind her songs. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
interested, especially in the early songs in her career, because she have talked at length about the story behind Jolene and I Will Always Love You and all the big songs.
Mm-hmm.
But the songs in her early career are super interesting because they're all about women that like they're either murdered or like mistreated by their husband or by their family, and
Mm.
I'm just like really interested in knowing what the stories are because she based all her songs on real stories, so those seem
God,
like the
yeah.
juicier ones. The
That's a
most tragic.
fascinating thing to ask her. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's incredible. Like, in terms of kind of conversing with the other guests and everything, or the general qualities she'd be bringing to the dinner party, what do you think she would be like? Like, what would you expect from Dolly Parton at the dinner party?
She would just like be very funny, and she would just like crack
Yes.
jokes all the time. She never talks. She's never serious. She's always like cracking jokes and
Yeah.
like be witty and funny. Even when people are mean to her, like they're like, especially all interviews of Dolly Parton, they treat her awfully. Like yeah, they're like actually like mean to her and they talk to her like she's like uh dumb or something,
Mm-hmm.
or like they
Mm-hmm.
over sexualize her, and she always have a comeback. She always like say something funny back and put them in their place. So I think
Yeah.
that she would be very funny, she would be very quick-witted.
She's
She
so, so funny.
Yeah,
I read apparently on Oprah once she was asked about her extensive plastic surgery, and Dolly responded by saying, "It takes a lot of money to look this cheap."
yeah.
And that's a great joke. That's a
Yeah.
really structurally sound joke.
I,
Uh,
yeah, I feel
sh-
like it's amazing that she like she actively want to have a look of, like a big neck, a bit like, blonde, beach blonde, and
mhm,
yeah, she actually goes to that look. She wants to look hyper feminine. uh,
mm,
and I think, yeah, and it's interesting because like people that look like that, they are not treated very well. Usually, they are underestimated constantly. But she actively wants to look like that and be bigger than life. And I think that is so nice that she is not being someone that she doesn't feel like she is.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. She also, you mentioned earlier, as well as her kind of quick wittedness and everything, like, she is just so lovely. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
just such a nice, kind person. Um, there was the story in the news recently. I don't know if you saw about renaming her Dixie Stampede. Uh, uh, I think it's an attraction at Dollywood or something. But she removed the word Dixie after she realized that the word had offensive connotations,
mm,
and she just removed it. She said, as soon as you realize that something is a problem, you should fix it. Don't be a dumbass. I would never dream of hurting anybody on purpose. Like, the world needs more people who are just that kind of
yeah.
pragmatic and good-hearted, don't they? I mean,
Yeah, I feel like that's her philosophy, that she never wants to cause any distress to anyone, and I think that's why she's never political, because she knows that as soon as you say something political you will alienate people,
mm-hmm,
and she never wants to make anyone feel like they are not welcome in
mm-hmm,
her little world. So Yeah, he's you know that whoever you are, you're gonna be comfortable in her company, and I think that
Yeah.
does make for a great dinner guest. Yeah.
Absolutely. 110%. I mean, I know that you've got this dinner party at this wonderful Icelandic cabin overlooking the northern lights. But do you think as part of the fantasy you could hop on a little plane afterwards and take a day out in Dollywood?
Yes. Oh
That
my god,
I mean, maybe I'm just imposing my dreams on you now, Issa, but I think that sounds incredible.
that sounds incredible. Yeah, I would love to go to Dollywood.
Oh my god, imagine a guided tour from Dolly of Dollywood. That's got to be
Oh,
everyone's dream. Well, Isa, what a remarkable, truly remarkable group of people you put together there. Dali, Ada Lovelace, Heinrich Schliemann, Dan Harmon, and Dolly Parton. One thing I love to ask guests about after we've talked about their guests is there a common thread? Like, is there a thing that you think all of these people have in common, or a particular quality that you see in each and every one of them?
yeah,
I'm always kind of interested in that.
I think that they're all passionate about
Hmm.
what they do and very strongly passionate about what they do. They're all dreamers that wants to do something that like will make the world a bit better or a bit more tolerable. So I
Yeah.
think like yeah, I love to be with people that are passionate about anything that they do. Like I love to hear people talk about things they're interested in, and like when someone loves their jobs, I love to hear them talk about their job and how excited they are about it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I like to surround myself with people that really like to talk about what they do, and they yeah, I think
Yeah.
like that's very nice.
I mean, it sounds like everything you could possibly want from this dinner party, this group of guests would deliver on it. It just sounds amazing, and it makes me really want to have dinner with you some evening because it sounds like the perfect evening. Uh, well, Issa, the final thing we have to discuss now. You've got these wonderful people all gathered together at this wonderful Icelandic cabin, but what are you going to cook for them?
Oh, so I was like thinking to do breakfast for dinner because like breakfast
God, I
is the
love this
best
so
meal
much.
of the day.
Yeah,
uh,
Brinner is the dream.
yes, it's amazing, and I will make eggs Benedict. And I love I mean, like it's so eggs Benedicts are so delicious, but
Yeah.
if someone makes eggs Benedict for you, you know that that person truly cares, because
That's so true.
yeah, because so much can go wrong when you make eggs Benedict. Like poaching eggs is hard. You know, if you're not doing
Yeah.
poaching eggs 24/7, poaching an egg is hard. It can go wrong. It can go everywhere. You can break the joke. It's just like it's a logistical nightmare. And and the hollandaise sauce is also very hard to make. Like you can make it too runny or too dense, or you can
Yeah.
break it in.
Yeah,
Uh,
it separates very easily.
yeah. So like I think that if someone gives you, that someone really cares when they give you a plate of poached eggs, sorry, eggs Benedict, not
Yeah.
an eggs. If they serve you like eggs Benedict and they're actually well made, you know that that person truly cares, because you know that that person have gone through 5 iterations. Eggs Benedict.
Issa, what I really need from you at some point in the future is a scale from don't care about you at all to I adore you and would die for you on the egg scale. Because I'm assuming like fried egg is I don't give a fuck about you,
Oh,
all the way up to like eggs Benedict is I would die for you. But like in the middle, scrambled eggs, I guess, is a bit more effort than fried. But yeah. I want to know how much the people in my life care about me based on the type of eggs they cook for me now.
Yeah, it's a good test. Yeah.
I think this is something I want to see you at your sewing machine,
Yeah.
stitching into a cardigan, all the different kinds of eggs in order of I love you most to love you least.
I feel like boiled eggs. It's just like get out of that relationship. Like they don't love you.
Boiled eggs is very much the love is gone in your eyes. Oh, Isa, this has been such a great dinner party. Thank you so much for talking me through it. I've really, really enjoyed that. If our lovely listeners want to stay across all of your brilliant work and see more from you, see some of your online stuff, how can we see more from you?
I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Isa Bonachera. You can visit my website, isabonachera.com. No one is called Isa Bonachera, so I got all the Isa Bonachera handles.
That is the advantage to that name.
Yeah.
Well, we will add links to your website and to your Twitter account into the episode description, so there is no excuse for people listening to this not to go and check out your work afterwards. And Isa, I just want to thank you so much again. And I know I speak on behalf of everybody at Jericho Comedy and all of our lovely audiences when I say that very, very much hope to see you at one of our shows in the near future again, because we really love having you in Oxford.
Oh, and I love gigging with Jericho Comedy.
Yeah!
So much fun. It's always like such lovely gigs. Like, if you're listening to this, go see all the Jericho Comedy shows.
Yeah!
All of that.
We didn't even pay Isa to say that.
It's like you guys are one of my favorite promoters because you're like nice. Your gigs are like well organized, well made, well attended. They're like it's a really nice like environment, and you guys are not assholes. You're super nice. Oh, you're the dream
Oh,
promoter.
Isa, thank you so much. We're officially going to have to put that as a quote on our website. You guys are not assholes. I think in the current comedy climate, that's about as much as any promoter can hope to hear. Isa, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
It would be really great to see you soon. And yeah, thanks again and have a lovely rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you.
Cheers, Isa. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a terrific group of guests Isa put together there. It sounds like exactly the kind of dinner party that I would want to be a part of. You've got to check out some of Isa's brilliant work online. Have a look in the episode description for links to Isa's website and her Twitter account. I just love having these conversations, and I'm so grateful to everyone who's taken the time to listen and share and get in touch to let us know you're enjoying it. We'd be ever so grateful if you would give us a rating or a share wherever you get your podcasts. It would help us reach a bit of a bigger audience, which we would really love. The Dinner Party is a Jericho Comedy production. If you want to hear any more from me, you can visit www.connormcreynolds.com and have a look and listen to some of my other radio, podcast, writing and comedy work. I'll be back next week with another fantastic guest chatting all about their dream dinner party. But until then, thank you so much for listening and bye-bye.